Ahoy there. How y'all doing this evening? I always say that, don't I? How y'all doing? First off, I don't live in the South, so I hardly even use the term y'all. So I really don't know why I say it, but hey y'all, how you doing? Got my evening coffee here, and my usual oral fixation, the vape pen, and I finally sat down for the first time today. It's been a very busy few days. This time of year is pretty busy, and for various reasons. And most of my day is, let's just say, busy. I'm always doing something. So when I finally sit down, it's hard to relax, and it takes a while to get into that. I know a person may think you're drinking coffee to relax. Well, coffee, just like any other substance, there's a misconception about caffeine that it just wires everybody. If you drink caffeine regularly, then it helps you wake up in the morning, and you can drink it before bed with no problem. And I found the same thing with most herbs, actually. In fact, if I was trying something the other day in the morning, and I didn't enjoy it, took it in the evening, and it was great. And I'm finding that the body chemistry is different at different times of the day. But anyway, I just follow my intuition, my instinct on what works, what my body tells me. And that's kind of what I wanted to talk about here. If I can. My neighbor's dogs are completely insane. He's got 2 German Shepherds that pretty much just bark all day. Anyway, I'll do my best. Intuition. It's one of those things that, people seem to, they attribute this picture of it, I think. At least, I guess maybe I attribute a picture to it. When I say people, I shouldn't really generalize people. When people say intuition, I think that most people probably think, okay, that's something like knowing, don't turn here, or knowing that something's not going to, like if you're driving down the road, let's say, and you decide to take a different route, and you find out there was an accident on the other route that you were taking, and you wonder, oh, your intuition told you not to take that route. Or a person just knows there's inherently something wrong about a person, and so they follow their intuition and find out that the person was a thief or whatever it may be. Now, those are really important factors, but intuition basically, rather than being something that we should consider to be, out of the norm, intuition is really the only way to fly, so they say, to follow your intuition all the time. But people say it, and it seems to be kind of dressed up. Like, oh yeah, follow your instinct, follow your love, follow your dream, follow your intuition. It's all blended together. Intuition itself is a really powerful thing. And I know if you get into the, really the detailed discussion with somebody who's questioning intuition, may say, well, it's just you recognizing something after the fact. Say, oh, my intuition was right. But we don't tend to take notes of the times when we were wrong. I think it's more complicated than that, because if you're following your intuition all the time, everything seems to just work out for you. You don't get rich by any means. You get what you need or what you desire. Whatever you want in life will come to you if you're living with intuition. Now, there are many lines of thinking that this intuition is brought through other lifetimes. Some people say it's from, it's what you may call God, in a way. It's, when you need help, call upon God, call upon Jesus, call upon Buddha, whatever it may be for a person. Really, it's calling upon your intuition and pulling out of, if you want to call it Akasha or the Akashic Records, really it's all within us. We're a microcosm of the macrocosm. This is something that is just felt and known by a lot of people. It's something that I've ceased trying to, convey or explain or justify when I get into a discussion about what is God or isn't God, or, what are we. It doesn't matter. The reason is because my intuition has never served me wrong in this lifetime. And my intuition tells me that there is a greater pattern, a blueprint to things. And so, in other words, my intuition could be described as faith. And I guess I didn't realize it till just then, really putting that description on it, but I follow my intuition and it leads me to good places. It makes me happy in what I'm doing. But it's not just like following blindly. It takes a degree of effort too. You have to get your feet wet. You have to immerse yourself and kind of picture what you want. It's kind of funny, like if you picture you need a lot of money, it'll come to you. But in what form? I mean, you're not just going to win the lottery one day. Maybe, maybe not. But maybe you'll get an opportunity that would bring you that fortune that you want to amass or something. But if your dreams aren't in money, then you may not acquire that. So a person may live in poverty their whole life and think, I always lived in poverty and I always lived properly and right and followed my instinct, my intuition. Why didn't I get rich? Because you didn't want to. It's that simple. And we hear people say things like this, like it's the power of, the power of intention, the power of your mind and mind over matter, and it starts to become all hokey, and people say, all that spiritual mumbo jumbo about manifesting reality and creating your desires, and it's all real shit. It's not just a new age idea. These go back into ancient ideas, and they've just been continually glazed over with new terms, new analogies, new ideas, but they're all the same idea, that we are in full control of our microcosm within this macrocosm. It's something I shy away from really talking about a whole lot because I get sick of people just, how can you believe in this when, there's no God because of this? People are so caught up in the very just silly, ignorant details of it. The irrelevant parts of it. For example, if I say that, that maybe, intuition is some force, that a person would be like, well, where's the scientific evidence to prove that? Or, it's all in the mind would be, in other words, a lot of people believe everything is all in the mind, that there is nothing outside of the human mind, that the human mind is driven by nothing but our own impulses, ideals, thoughts, things that we've learned, and behaviors. I do not believe this in any way, shape, or form. I know for a fact in my heart, through intuition, that we are affected by others' intentions, vibrations. You know when someone's watching you. You know when someone has a good heart or a bad heart by their looks. And it's not their face, it's what's in their face. It's what's reflected in their being. This is why meeting a person and shaking their hand is so important. So many little things like can just tip you off, but you can't really pin it down to what it is about this person that you don't trust or do trust when you first meet someone. And these are intuitive things, intuition. If we learn to follow our intuition, our hearts will be so much happier. Now, not just people. I want to give an example here. People who do live with a really good light in their hearts and have the best intentions for themselves and for others, and they continue to suffer. In other words, a lot of people, you say, well, I do everything I can, I help other people, I live my life the best I can, and yet I'm always suffering. And you'll find out that usually, if that's the case, there's something in your life that you're not living within your intuition. This could mean that your life is complete and happy in every way except your spouse or your friend or family member that you live with, let's say, or whatever it is causing you turmoil. If you're married to someone who's wreaking havoc in your life, that's a major issue. Likewise, if you and your wife or husband or whoever are just having the greatest life and everything's going your way, but you don't like your job, well, you're not living in your intuition. You're not living within your own true heart of what you know is right or wrong. Even if, let's say, you love your job and your job is to go out into the woods and to travel and to look and scout new areas, yet you're scouting for an oil company and you know what you're doing is wrong. You're not living within your intuition, following your heart. And I'm not harping on jobs, because people will always say, well, you've got to eat, you've got to work. This is true. But if you take a job in which you compromise your integrity or your values, or if you get into a relationship which compromises your integrity or values, you will suffer because of it. And these are obvious, repeatable things that people have seen happen over and over to them and others and their loved ones. It's things that the old share with the young. It's things that people on their deathbeds tell to their family members. That all that matters is love and following your heart. Know what you want to do. But most of all, kind of follow your intuition in life. That's it. We're so desperate to think that we have a handle on things that we refuse to let life push us around. That's how we see intuition. And that's kind of my perception of it, that we don't want to be pushed around. We want to demand what we want. We want to have this. We want to have a new car. And something as simple as people who lease cars every year, let's say. That's to most people, to a lot of people, that's just a normal thing. To me, it's a preposterous waste of resources, time, and money, just to show that you have a new car, the latest car. It makes no sense to me at all. A person that wants to buy a mansion with 30 rooms or 100 rooms, it makes no sense to me at all. A person who wants to buy a car just to show it off to someone, it makes no sense at all. So anyway, these are just purchasing things, but this materialism is just one small part of it. There's a huge ego people want to feed, to show and prove themselves to one another, and it's a wild thing to not be one of those people. You have to live in a world where those people exist. And, I'm not saying I'm better than anyone else, because I don't like to compare people. Because like I've said, we're all facets, we're all puzzle pieces, we're all fitting together to make this big picture, but there are certain factors of it that just don't belong. One of them is, the age of decadence, which we live in. And the age of decadence is a result of our abandoning our intuition for materialism, for material gain. I'm no stranger to suffering. Sometimes I think I've got a great life, and I think, when somebody will say you're lucky, and I stop myself and say, no, I'm not lucky. I've suffered like everyone else. I've worked towards what I had by living with a value system. And that value system has led me to where I'm happy. And this is why I'm sharing this with you, because I'm not trying to be pious or better than anyone. That's one thing I try to avoid completely. I just want people to know that you can be happy. You really can be happy, but you have to make yourself happy. There's no amount of money or resources or power that will bring true happiness, and that is something we all have intuition to know, I think. Through the ages, the wisest sages and prophets have always spoke that, they were never about money. Let's put it this way: some of the most people people would call powerful have a lot of money. The movers and shakers may have a lot of money, but if the economy was gone, there would be no such thing as a mover and shaker anymore. That power would be gone with the money. True power comes from wisdom and knowledge, period, bar none, awareness. No matter how many people you rule over, no matter how big of a corporation you own, if the corporation dissolves, who are you really in charge of? And are you really even in charge of yourself? And this is what I mean by following your intuition. I may have nothing. I may be broke. I may be scrambling to put packages together and get down to the post office just to make a couple bucks, to make other people happy, trying to give them deals on, kratom or herbs. And I like to see other people happy, but I also like to live, and there's kind of a balance that you have to have. And my values tell me what's fair. And when I see other people who take advantage of folks, I think, they wonder why they suffer. They wonder why their life is shit and why they're miserable. It's because they're gaining at the expense of others. And if you're ever gaining at the expense of other people, no matter how humble and honest your intentions are, you will fail. You will fail. And this is something I've said in the past. People think that it's kind of arrogant because I've argued about stocks by saying, okay, you buy stocks in a company. Often people are always happy when their stock gains, but when it loses, all of a sudden it's poor me. But, either way, many times you're playing with other people's money in the long run. If you gain a windfall right away, even if you win the lottery, okay? Let's say, what a great thing, I won the lottery. beyond the fact that you're giving half of it away, let's just say you get $20 million, that's all coming out of the pockets of your fellow Americans that were buying lottery tickets. Now, that's okay. They took a gamble. That was their chance they took. But the point is that nothing is ever gained without a void, even in an economy with fiat money like it is. But I think if we follow our instincts, we'll see that the money is just nothing. It's a joke, a complete joke. Borders are a joke. Racism is a joke. Sexism is a joke. And I don't mean that they're not to be taken seriously because they exist. I just mean, come on, people. Come on, you know? Sometimes I just don't know what to think. One day I just love everybody, and the next day people are just morons. But 90% of the time I really feel like people are good. And when I see someone doing something that bothers me, I think, am I just singling out this person? And my intuition always tells me the truth. It never lies to me. If I feel like I'm lying to myself, my intuition will step in and say no. So it is something that's trainable. So I would say it's like positive thinking. You don't train yourself to learn. That's was the major point I'm glad I remembered I wanted to make, was that you don't train yourself to learn how to have intuition. You just like you don't train yourself to be psychic, let's say. You step aside from all the bullshit you've learned and allow it to come through, to bleed back through. We've piled blankets on top of our intuition over and over and over, and now we don't even know the difference between, you know, the truth and the figment of our imagination. And look at what it's led to. A lot of delusional shit out there on YouTube. And elsewhere. But we're all just people. We're just doing what we do. And the finger pointing has to stop. People have to stop judging one another by what they do, what habits they have, or what habits they don't have, or what God they believe in, or what political affiliation they even have. I've learned to respect the view of some conservatives that, the moderate conservatives, you may call them, that really have some valid points. I would lean more towards, some of their views than some of the extreme Democrats who just want to like socialize everything. But I'm not a Democrat or Republican. That's the thing. I'm just an independent thinker. And why people have to take sides, and it is beyond me. Why people fight at sports stadiums over a sports game is beyond me. But its rivalry is understandable. But a handshake in the end and a disagreement and say we part and go our own ways, that's what we need. So it's a strange life, people. We do the best we can, and hopefully we share something in the process and gain something in the process. And I, for one, have to say, through all the years of my personal experience up to this year, my humble 40th year, I have to say that there's something greater within all of us that we can tap into. But we have to let down our guard and stop thinking that we've got it figured out. Stop thinking that we already know. And just allow truth to flow through us. And if you need proof as to the fact that it works, just look around at people around you. Ask the people that are happy what they've done to be happy. And you'll get the answers that you seek. And they will probably resonate with a lot of what I've tried to say here. Money never buys happiness. People need companionship, and they need to follow their intuition and follow their hearts. And whether or not you believe you have a path or a destiny or a purpose doesn't matter to the universe. It doesn't matter what you think. It's kind of like when people talk about politics and they say, well, this is the statistic, and a person says, but the American people think this. And I say, who gives a shit what the American people think if it's not the truth? And that's the same way for humanity in general. It doesn't matter what we think if it's not the truth. And the truth is that all we really have is our intuition. So I would highly recommend that we all follow it. Anyway, peace and love and namaste and all that shit, you know, remember that your neighbor is your neighbor. Take care, everybody.